So, welcome back, everyone. We are going to be on planet Mercury today, where we're going to be looking at the mind, the communication, and intelligence of a football coach, and where these factors are used in coaching. And we're also going to try and reflect on ourselves when looking at these factors. I am with Mark Miller today. I've known Mark Miller for about a year, mainly through Little Kickers, and he's going to help us today look at the planet Mercury. So, Mark, if you want to give a little background about yourself, just about your coaching, your history, and we'll kind of go from there, if that's all right.
Brilliant. Hi, good morning, everybody. Or good afternoon, sorry.
Yeah.
My name is Mark Miller. I am a football coach primarily, based with Ribble Wanderers under 10s. I also work for Little Kickers as a football coach. However, they are from 18 months to 7 years, so a different demographic as well. I also work for Bolton Sports Council, where I do multi-sports, and at the moment I'm coaching primarily bike ability. That is for year 5 and 6, another demographic. That's for boys and girls. And I also have a multi-sports qualification where I do other sports on an ad hoc basis for South Rural Borough Council. So lots of experience, lots of different age groups, lots of different sports, and it's how I can combine them to be a more effective coach.
Yeah, that's brilliant, Mark. Definitely a broad spectrum, which will give us a great idea of using these factors across a different wide range of ages and genders, which is perfect. Right, so we'll start off with the mind. Just a quick question to throw out. I'll question it, and then we'll both almost answer the question. So, as a mind, how do we think as coaches our thoughts are altered, whether we are coaching, whether after coaching, or whether it's before coaching?
So first of all, I think you need to look at your coaching philosophy.
Yeah.
What's the reason for your coaching? So my coaching philosophy is based on altruism, doing things for others. So as a grassroots football coach, my enjoyment is basically see the players develop, players doing well, enjoying what they do, and that in turn makes me enjoy it because I can see they're getting something from it. So my coaching effectiveness is then increased because I know that one, they're transferring the skills from the training field to the match area, and also that they're having the confidence to be able to be creative. I want to empower them to do that. So my mind ethic or element is I want the players to show me their creativeness rather than saying do this, do that, whatever. Yeah. So I'd rather being a training drill, I'd rather them work out for themselves through problem solving and then let them be creative.
Yeah, I think I'm in a similar boat with you where I want the players to think for themselves, and essentially I just want it to be fun so they can learn in a fun environment. Obviously, you've had a bit more experience than me whilst coaching, so I think in terms of my mind, it's probably not as developed as much as more as why I'm coaching. I think maybe later on in my coaching experience, I'll maybe find out almost why I'm doing what I'm doing, if that makes sense. But I think, yeah, definitely I'm on the same boat as you, as in a fun environment that they need to be learning for themselves and not us telling them what to do. That's almost what I try and go for when I'm coaching. Yeah. So do you think that throughout from just watching sports, from watching different sports, that your mind can be altered when you go to coach? So you've maybe got a session plan and then you watch some sport and you think, actually, no, I'm going to do this now.
Right. So in answer to your question, also depends on whether your coaching session is for participation, or if it's for preparation. So I'll give you an example of that. So when I do bike ability, it's for participation. I don't want somebody to be the best in the class or best in the. That's to improve their skill level for everybody, so they're participating in what they're doing. So for preparation, for a team ethic, then I want them to be the best they can be, not so trying their best to be the best they can be. I'm not demanding that they be the best. So going back to the participation one, is when I do bike ability with the junior school children, we do what's called bike fix. So that this is a prelude to bikeability, where they learn more about what's called an M check, where they learn different parts of the bike,
Hmm.
what effect they have on their bike, if that falters or they can mend it,
Yeah.
and then we learn some tricks on how to do different things to keep the maintenance of the bike. So that's very much participation based.
Yeah.
And obviously, yeah, what was the other one I said? So when you like the preparation for a team or anything like that, and then we're looking at where do we want players. So we're looking at you maybe your four corner model of the
Yeah.
FA.
Yeah.
So excuse me, your sociological, your tactical,
Yeah.
your technical, thing like that model. So when I'm showing them, I have a magnetic board which I'll put up and I'll show the teams the position.
Yeah.
So I'll say, so we're looking at tactical. So I'll say, right, well, you're going to be starting there, and I want you to that side.
Yeah.
Trying to give them, so like the thirds of the pitch, for example.
Yeah.
It's my current team are doing at 7 aside. So we'll do one goalkeeper and 2 banks of 3.
Yeah.
So then they're working together. So they're developing a rapport between themselves.
Yeah.
To know that one, they can trust each other and depend on each other.
Yeah.
And then that's going to develop from there, really.
Yeah, definitely. I think with what you're saying there, like your mind, when you're thinking as a coach, if you think well and complex, that can transfer to the players as well. So then,
you have to break it down though, into simpler format for the players to understand. It might be great having an idea, but it's how do you get your idea across to your players? You have to break it down to little bits and then expand on it as they progress. So there's no point just tell them, oh, we're doing this, this, and this, and this, and they go, I've no idea what we're talking about. So the coaching effectiveness, okay.
Yeah.
Where I become a better coach is how do I simplify my messages to get them across, and then how do I know that message is working?
Yeah.
Can they put into action my plan? And obviously, if that does develop fruition, then I know that I've been successful.
Yeah.
And then obviously I can then look at other ways of doing things. So you're basically your building blocks, so your fundamentals of your coaching success.
Yeah.
How you develop from there, and then develop your players accordingly.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what you're saying now, it's really good for the best coaches can make it simple for the players to understand. But I think it goes with age as well. I think as the players get older, you can make it a bit more complex because they'll understand more.
Yes.
But I think as we're both under 10s, under 9s, under 7 level, the best coaches, we can have all the information in our mind, but make it simple for the players to understand.
Yes.
Brilliant. Right, we will go on to the next factor. So Mercury also symbolises communication. So just when you've been coaching and when you've reflected on your coaching, is there a certain type of communication that we might use to communicate with players?
Right. Well, there is an American professor who says that communication is made up of 3 elements.
Yeah.
Okay. And obviously that's your spoken word, your facial, and also your body language.
Yeah.
So your body language is the majority of your communication. Is what they see first. So if you keep talking and talking and talking, they're going to switch off. They're going to disengage. Yeah. How do we keep them engaged? So, for example, at Little Kickers, okay, having fun games where it's getting them to do a celebration at the end of the thing or a high five to give them another form of communication to say well done or a bigger smile or anything really where you can get your body involved. So, for example, if you're doing a demonstration of a move, so I said you were doing jumping jacks as a warp, you can show them like the arms get really up, or you can say how do we move. So, for example, different methods of movement. So you could say like a cheetah runs really fast, and you could do an example of that, or you could do something really sort of slow, and they say Coach Mark, and I got upset. And then obviously that you're doing different things, and so like if you wanted to get them to extend their knees high, like say like a dinosaur stomp, and you could really get them to exaggerate the movement, and obviously a vocal element to it as well. So just by keeping it fun, things like that. However, it's how you get your message across, as I mentioned before. The different methods of communications, you can do non-verbal and verbal. But I do think the non-verbal, your body language, is a significant element of that.
Yeah, No, yeah, I think that's definitely. I think that's you've almost gone to my next question of like why we use different types of communication. I think it's like that. It's for different age groups. So when you're really young, you can be your cheetah, your kangaroo, your cheetah. I think it's a cheetah or kangaroo. Just be different animals to go around. And I think it's just making them understand and keeping them on track.
I think it's the relatability
Yeah,
of what you're trying to do for that demographic you're trying to coach. So
yeah,
if you've got the younger children and you want them to copy you, so you break it down into, right, how does an eagle fly? So you put your arms out wide, like that, or you make a nose, or an elephant, and you can swing your trunk so they get in that. So like I say, it's a fun element, but you're getting the message across.
Yeah.
Where on the other hand, you've got older children.
Yeah.
That's why I use a magnetic board, and I can show them things where I want them to go.
Yeah.
It's a form of communication, but it's different method. It's a visual aid, if you will.
Yeah.
A different type of visual aid that shows them more important information or more difficult information to grasp.
Yeah.
But they're able to do that because of you using different methods.
Yeah. I think I remember in my first year at uni, I did some lecture on communication, and we spoke about the use of swearing when in your like an elite performance, because you'd never think about swearing to a 2-year-old or 3-year-old to tell them to do some drill.
Yeah, it's the appropriateness, isn't it? It's your
Yeah.
language, isn't it? What language you use and how you do it. So,
and like you say, relatability and just getting the best out your players. Just
yes, yeah.
Yeah. Right, we'll swiftly go on to the next factor. So Mercury, we'll finally go on to the third one. Mercury symbolises intelligence. So just as you as a coach, do you think that intelligence is needed whilst coaching or any form of coach?
I think it's a vital element.
Yeah,
so
I would agree.
So your knowledge of your not only your players, or your participants, also your subject matter.
Yeah.
So the way I look at intelligence, would be classed as reflective practice.
Right.
So if I, for example, do a session 4 weeks in a row, and I was like, oh, come on, grasp it, it's so simple.
Yeah.
Who's at fault? It's my fault because I've not changed what I need to do for them to understand it. So reflective practice, is advocated as an essential part of coach education. It's considered to connect the application of professional knowledge and coaching sessions while promoting conscious craft knowledge. So to put in layman's terms, that is going back to how do I get my sessions to be effective?
Yeah.
How do I use what I've got at my disposal? So, for example, I've got quite a wealth of experience that I can draw upon.
Yeah.
Because I plan, do, and review my sessions.
Yeah.
I automatically know what similar type of sessions have gone well. On the other hand, if I weren't to do that, then I'm just like shooting in the dark.
Yeah.
Why are they not grasping what I'm trying to tell them? I've told them in simple terms, and then you get coaches who are then shouting at the children because they're not grasping it. You need to have reflective practice, looking at yourself and saying, what can I do better? For one, for my session to be effective. Two, for my participants, my players, to grasp what they need to learn in this different scenario. So it's whether you run drill sessions or teaching games for understanding, where you put it in a game situation and then try and give them objectives to do. It's can they obtain the skills and ability necessary to grasp what you're trying to do them. So, for example, for the tactical one, are they in the right position at the right time? How do you know where to mark? At set pieces, for example, game intelligence, do I mark a player or mark a space? So it's like zonal marking or man for man marking. But for a coach intelligence, definitely reflective practice. Because it comes back down to what have I learned from this session? What can I do better to become a more successful coach? For them to learn, you're only as good as the people you're coaching. If your people you're coaching not grasping their ideas, you need to make amends, not the players that you're coaching.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think going back to the point you say where if the session isn't working, you can't blame the players, because I think I always go back, and if a player isn't understanding, I would never say that it's the player that's wrong. I'd always think, right, well, what have I done wrong that they haven't understood to make the session fun? And I think if you've got that intelligence, you'll be able to think on your feet, you'll be able to change it. And that says it comes from your experience, your plan, do review, all of that. And if you get that, and I think you can then blame yourself for if the session goes wrong. I mean, and there's sometimes where literally the players are the problem, but a lot of the time you can change it yourself. And yeah, you
one of the things I've discovered is if you get some people in your group who understand it and others don't,
yeah,
you then ask somebody who understands it, can they tell their friend or teammate what they think it is?
yeah,
And then that also promotes understanding them, because not only are they giving it information in layman's terms to another teammate,
yeah,
they're breaking it down to show, yes, they've actually understood what you've said.
yeah,
And the spoken word then, or the visibility of showing you where your movements and things like that, then there's, oh, right, and I'll grasp it now.
yeah.
So even though you've got your ideas and simplified them, sometimes it's not enough. However, if one of participants tells or shows the other person, then they're grasping it.
Yeah,
and then you can obviously build on that. So there are different ways of doing it. It's not just down to the coach
no,
to do it. Sometimes other players can grasp it and show
yeah,
their teammates what they need to do, or their version of it. So
definitely. And I think that intelligence can just come from trial and error of using that technique of just.
So when you mention about intelligence as well, is I always allow players to make mistakes.
Yeah,
Because through problem solving, their intelligence is elevated, because then they know what you need to do for that situation. So, and then that situation only come up once every 2 games, or it might come up once a season. But if they've had experience of doing that, and if they've made a mistake, they know fine well that it's not their fault.
No.
But can we find a different solution and use our intelligence to be a better player or a better teammate? So
yeah. Well, I was thinking about that last night. I was thinking about mistakes in general, and I think there's almost like 2 types of mistake. You can make a mistake in a doctor scenario where in a procedure something goes wrong. That's a mistake, and that's definitely bad. But I think in football, mistakes they're not really like that much relevance to if you make a mistake, it doesn't really matter. And I think that's where we come from, because mistakes can be a bad thing, but when there's not really a big impact to the mistake, it's actually a really good thing.
Yeah, you're looking at what the outcome of that is how can I do better next time?
Yeah.
How can I learn from this experience to become a better player, and allow them to do that in a non threatening or a non what's the word I'm looking for?
Threatening non.
So it's basically it's not a non-pressurized environment.
Yeah.
So if you make a mistake, fine, okay. So you know next time maybe try something else.
Yeah.
But like I say, problem solving is really good. So.
And I think that can be for players and coaches both.
Definitely, yeah. So I know that when I give tactical instructions on a pitch and it's not worked out, that comes down to me, and I can apologise to the players and say, "Sorry, that was my idea. Shouldn't have done that. Yeah. So we'll try not to do that in the future." Yeah. And then at least you know that you're being sincere with them and saying, "Look, I'll hold my hand up. I made a mistake. Okay, maybe that wasn't the right time to do that. Can we move on and keep trying?" So something else about intelligence I've just thought of then is so your coaching practice. Obviously, there's lots of different levels of qualifications.
Yeah.
You're transferring of skills from one sport to the next.
Yeah.
So you get your fundamentals of coaching where you plan a session. It's like obviously every session does not go to plan.
No.
So then, for example, with mine, I've got an example of this is every time I coach football, I've got 3 session plans or 3 versions of the same thing. So that is 1 for like minimum participants, 2 for the 2/3, and 1 for a full group. So then I've got something I'm not at a loss to say, what shall I do now then? I'm already prepared for that.
Yeah.
So using my intelligence of my experience of having that backup plan, then I say, right, I can just amend it accordingly.
Yeah.
So that's like reflection in action, if you will, where you can, or on action, where we can change it as will, so the session does not go downhill rapidly, and obviously you can't bring it back. So like the catastrophe or things like that. So intelligence, you can also look at different qualifications.
Yeah.
So like I've only got level 1 for football.
Yeah.
But I've also got level 1 for futsal. So with futsal, you get far more touches of the ball than you do with grassroots football. So some of my training games, I've used futsal training programs for my grassroots footballers to increase ball mastery of how many touches they receive on the ball at a younger age, to get them used to the ball, get them used to one-on-one situations, get them used to two-on-one situations, offensive and defensive, and it all just builds up their confidence, knowing, yes, I've been in this situation before, and then I know then that obviously I prepared them the best I can be. So
yeah, definitely.
Something else like that. So
I think in general, I think intelligence can come from a lot of different places. It's just
definitely,
about where you get it from.
Yeah.
You pick it out and then put it in your baskets. And
so it's like your hard and soft skills. It's great having all the qualifications.
Yeah.
But it's how can you put them into practice?
Yeah.
So it's having that blend, isn't it, of being able to use your intelligence from what you gained on a course to put it in a real life situation.
Yeah.
And again, having all that wealth of experience of different sports, is can you transfer something from one sport to the next that's worked? Excuse me. Excuse me.
Right.
So in your preparation, or you give the information to players or participants, if something's worked before, try it. But every session's in the individual session, so it might take a variety of ways to get your message across.
Yeah,
that's where you can use your intelligence.
That's brilliant. I think we've gone quite into a bit of detail for those 3 points for how Mercury symbolised and how it's implemented into coaching. Right, if it's all right with you, we'll go on to two more questions. Well, two more topics to cover. So just one thing I thought would make this podcast or meeting type a bit interesting or funny is just one thing from this week from sport that you think's funny or had an impact on you directly. So just one thing you've seen.
Okay, so my coaching philosophy for my football team is draw, lose or win, we never give in.
Okay,
so it doesn't matter what the score is. Doesn't matter how well we're doing. It's we don't give in. So we're showing a character that we keep on fighting to the end for each other. So it doesn't matter who starts, doesn't matter who comes on, we're all as one team. So building that team ethic. And today was a brilliant example of that. We came from 1-0 down. I made some substitutions, but during the first half, I said to them, the players that came on, the defenders are getting tired. So I put an element of doubt in their mind, and I said, you're fully fresh legs. You can run past these players. And if you perform like I think you can, you can score a goal and make a difference. Within 16 seconds of coming on, we got an equaliser. So not only did I motivate the players, they put into practice what we'd learnt on the training pitch about positional and things like that, and it's brilliant. We then went on to win the game because they knew that they could do it, and they showed me. So our kit is sponsored by Nike, and their slogan is "Just Do It." So before we went onto the pitch, I said, "What does that say?" So Nike said, "What's their slogan?" Do it. Just go and do it. So they knew single-mindedly that they were going to go and try their best, regardless of what the outcome was, and that's what was my highlight of my week.
That's brilliant, and I think the highlight from my week's very similar to yours, because when my team played on Saturday, they came off at half-time. I can't remember what the score was. They were winning by about 4 or 5 goals, and they were all happy. And I said to them, "Look, the second half, it was their first game of the season. I said, right, the second half, it's 0-0 again."
That's what I was doing.
There was confusion, like, why is it 0-0? I said, it's just 0-0 again, and you've got to go again. And thankfully, they believed me because it was only the first match of the season. But from then, it proved that they went on to score more. And I think, like you say, just do it, put the effort in.
Yeah.
It all adds up, and
it was more of the team ethos that they're working for each other.
yeah,
Regardless who's on the pitch, there's only one outcome, and that's your outcome as a team. What can you do as a teammate to make sure your team is the best it can be? So, and that's what they did. They all teamwork together and brilliant. All support each other. Fantastic.
brilliant.
So that's what makes coaching worthwhile when you see them putting the effort in.
It is. It definitely is. Right. That is us done. So we'll click stop recording. Thank you very much for your time, Mark.
Yeah, brilliant. So
I hope we've covered into detail quite a few of those topics or factors, whatever you call them.